Must be Thursday.
What?
Family Matters.
That's right, baby.
Kevin's off his cruise ship looking refreshed.
You know, I have to tell you, I had a great time. Highly recommend it.
Spent that much time on a boat. I don't know. I don't know if I can do it.
Yeah, well, the cool part is that there was a spa, a hot tub, a gym. I mean, there was like a lot of crap to do. But I have to tell you, 7 nights got a little long. And then we got to London. We hung out in London for 3 days, which was really cool, And that was where I was like, okay, today we're gonna go here. Today we're gonna go here. Today that was more my speed. So,
well, you look rested.
I'm exhausted, but I feel good. How was your 10 days?
Well, I missed you, of course, but going stir crazy. But family's still calling, and this doesn't go away. So you know what? We move on. So
all right.
We have job security, unfortunately. So
sad but true, my friend. Sad but true.
Well, all right. Well, let's jump right into it, unless you kind of have anything on your mind. We got a huge storm brewing in Dallas, Texas. So if I'm going in and out of Wi-Fi, blame the storm in Dallas, Texas right now. But well, I think we actually got going several weeks back. So I'm just going to lump a bunch of numerous weeks together. We got, there's a lot of, and we may have even touched about, why don't we kind of, I don't know how to frame this. So I think it's important for families, because there's a lot of questions about sober livings and aftercare when they leave, kind of, treatment. I think it's really important. I think families can't grasp the idea around why the importance of investing the time now in a longer frame time period instead of doing this over and over and over again. Can you explain kind of that whole period and like the importance of investing in the time, the phased approach?
Yes, I can do my best. And it's a great question, and it's a great issue, and it's one that I get all the time.
Yeah.
So it generally starts like this. Oh, he's gone to rehab 3 times, and it didn't work. Like, well, what happened? Well, he did 30 days, and then he came home. Why didn't he do IOP? He didn't want to. Why didn't you insist? Well, and so I'm like, okay, so I want to be clear. The rehab worked just fine. Because for 30 days or however long he was there, he was in an environment where he had boundaries and accountability placed upon him. And then he came home and that all went away. And so that's the problem, is that 30 days isn't going to fix anything. 60, 90 days really isn't going to fix anything. I'm not saying that they need to be in a inpatient facility for 6 months, a year, or 18 months. Quite the opposite. What we want to do is start them off in an inpatient facility for 30, 60, or 90 days, and then rotate them down. Lower cares, lower costs, but the same levels of accountability and services and structure. So it turns out to have the success that you're looking for in long-term sobriety and maturity and growth and behaving like a grown-up, you generally need about 18 to 24 months of supervised engagement. And I don't mean 24/7 supervised. I mean, we start there and then we pull back. And we go into what's called PHP, partial hospitalization, which is 20 hours a week, IOP, which is 12 hours a week, and then step down to just therapy, but all living in a sober environment. With the accountability of breathalyzing, drug testing, therapy, meetings, group meetings, because it's not just about eliminating the drugs and the alcohol, it's about changing the way of life. And that's what takes so long. That's really the quickest way I can answer that question.
Yeah.
And the truth is, these families that come to you and I that are like, we've tried it and it didn't work. And I'm like, well, what did you try? And I'm like, yeah, that doesn't work. You're right. Statistically, that doesn't work. 75% of people that go to 30-day rehabs and that's it, don't stay sober, supposedly. So
I heard someone say, which I love, is like you're learning how to surf and you stand up on a surfboard in a pool and people give you the thumbs up and then expecting to go out in the ocean and expecting to be able to learn how to surf. Like you get out of 30-day treatment. I've done it numerous times and life kind of rushes this big waves of, you go from groups and clinical and being held accountable and safe. And then if you go straight back into life and home, it's no one's fault. I'm not saying it's anyone's fault, but you have life just overwhelming you and you don't have any safe zone. So, I mean, I think it's what Kevin was outlining is you have this phased approach where you can sit around in a circle and process, things, and you can slowly get back into life. And I think that is what families fail to realize, and clients. I mean, they want to rush back into life. They want to rush back to work, and there's all, rightfully so, but there is this rush of real life, and life will overwhelm you. And when we get overwhelmed, I go right back to drugs and alcohol. And this, what did we just invest in? And
right.
We can throw that away in just one bad decision. Why not invest in long-term phased approach? I mean, I think families hopefully can wrap their heads around it because we get a lot of questions around it. But
yep. Well, and the other thing the thing you just said is kind of my other big push point is let's talk return on investment, because generally it's someone in the family. It's almost always like the dad wants to talk about money. I'm like, yeah, let's talk about money. You want to spend 30, 40 grand 3 or 4 times in the next year? Or how about, first of all, we can find an insurance-based solution. How about we start, kicking in more time, putting more time and effort and getting a greater return on your investment. I mean, if you're going to put that money in, why not put it into an environment where you got a better chance of the success that you're looking for? Yeah. And I think when they can see it that way, they're like, oh, okay, now I get it. I'm like, yeah, you don't got to spend $100,000 on the front end on, the famous super sexy rehab program. That's not necessary. If you want to spend that kind of money, God, I know places that'll hold that person for a year, 18 months. And they'll be happy to help you and phase them down. So, and by the way, you don't have to spend that kind of money. So
yeah, absolutely. So, yep. Another fascinating question. It's one I haven't thought about, but for a while I've thought about it all the time when I was going through my struggles or something. Is, well, you always say there's you have to want to be sober. There has to be what I always hear, a mustard seed of willingness or something. This question is around that. Does there have to be willingness or want to? Like, can you force the willingness or want to? Like, you have someone that's obviously in the throes of addiction. Is we were just talking about investing in treatment, and some people think, like, why throw money away if he's not wanting to be sober? Can you force willingness and want?
No. And you don't have to wait for them to want to be sober. Unfortunately, you're risking too much. What you can do is make it clear to the person we're talking about, your loved one, and say, hey, I love you. You're my husband, my wife, my son, my daughter, whatever the relationship is. I love you, but I'm not willing to go down this path with you anymore. And so until you're ready to start to get sober and change the way you live and the way you treat people, I'm out. And I mean, I'm out. I have no financial support. No, you're on your own. Good luck. I hope it works out for you. If you're willing to get help, I'm willing to help you get that help. And I actually have a plan right here ready for you. But if you don't want the plan, that's fine. You're an adult. I mean, if they're under 18, that's a different story, But if they're over 18, you can just say, hey, that's cool. Knock yourself out, but you're not living here. And this is what my parents said to me. And I wasn't even living at home. I had a job, I had a car, I had my own life. And they were just like, we love you, but we're done. We're done watching you kill yourself, and we're done having you in our life as this tornado that shows up, rips things apart, and then disappears and acts like it's no big deal. And they're like, that's it. We're over. Good luck. Hope it works out. If you want help, we will help you. I want to be real clear. I am not telling anyone to use tough love. Tough love does not work. I'm telling you to have boundaries and accountability with empathy and a plan.
So, well, I think people hear what you just said as tough love, but what the boundary there is, but if you want help, we have a solution for you.
Yeah.
That's the difference you're talking about. So,
yeah, the old school methodology of tough love is we slam the door in your face and say, good luck, hope it works out,
never call us again.
Yeah, here's a quarter, call someone who cares.
Yeah.
That's what I am not okay with.
Yeah.
And I'm also not okay with waiting for them to hit rock bottom. In today's world, they can die. They're out there playing with drugs they shouldn't be playing with. And, I just literally just the other day, I heard that a friend of mine's grandson, it was an old teacher of mine in California, and her daughter's son in college, did some fentanyl, or what he thought. I don't know. He probably thought he was doing Xanax, and he's dead. So, we can't wait. We can't dick around with that, So
yeah, it's
that's awful.
I was, on a side note, I was talking to a bunch of lawyers here in beautiful Dallas, Texas, and fascinating to know. I don't know if this is all over the country or not, but in Dallas County, they do not test for fentanyl for people on probation.
Wow, that's amazing to me.
So they have all these people coming in on these drug charges and DUIs, passing drug tests, and they're telling the lawyer, like, well, I've been using fentanyl this whole time. And they're like, how you passing drug tests? They're like, well, they never test for fentanyl. So
that is insane. That is just insane.
I mean, can you, I just kind of just did the old forehead slap.
Yeah. Hello.
Whew. Another question. This is, I think we should start labeling, putting stars, top 5 questions that I think we always get. I think this one might be in our top 5, but we'll keep answering it about mom and dad putting the old tracking, whether they put a tracker on the car or tracking on the cell phone. Some have even, this one, he's even done the old PI trick and followed them. And they say this is not a family disease. This one right here, and we're not taking shots by any means, but this is the definition of a family disease, when you're altering your life by following your son, like a private investigator, to see where he's going. You're putting your life on hold to follow, but so your thoughts around the old tracking of the trust and the tracking.
Yeah, I mean, to what end? What do you get out of it? I mean, how is this helping? What? So I don't understand the necessity of, well, I know where he is. Okay, so what? Now, let's be clear. If they're under 18, or I would say if you're paying for college and they're living off of your dime, well, I mean, if that's a condition you want to make, that's fine. You're paying all the bills. I guess you could kind of have that right to a certain degree. But you're absolutely right. What you're really doing is feeding that control piece of the codependency, where I have to know everything at all times. It's like, well, how long are you going to live your life? What's the magic number? Is it 25, 30, 35? When do they magically go from being monitored 24/7 to being capable of solving their own problems? And what do you just snap your fingers and turn off the monitor, and then all of a sudden it just doesn't make any sense. And now I understand that the whole concept is about making the parent feel better. like they're in control, like they're in charge. And and that's really the piece that has to be addressed, is that, but you're really not in control, because the truth of the matter is he can just leave his phone somewhere else and get a burner phone. It's such an illusion. And the idea that, you're somehow what are you gonna sit there and monitor them 24/7, be like, oh, they're in the wrong part of town, we need to go get them. There are so many other proactive things that you can do, and try to offer solutions and offer help. And if they take it, they take it. If they don't, you can't control that. Honestly, one of the first things I do is turn off the phone. So it's completely antithetical to everything that I believe in. That somehow your monitoring them is what's keeping them healthy. When they were 6, sure, okay, but when they're 26, no, that's not how this works.
I remember going into a house to family consultation. It was about a year or so ago, and there was a monitor in the house strictly for, all it displayed was the location of both of their kids, and it was on 24/7. So
and what does that get you?
I don't. And not only that, and this mom, God bless her soul, took the time and started mapping out like common places that both showing signs of substance abuse. She started mapping out common places where both of them would go, normal routes, and she would sit in front of this monitor and had some, I don't even know, but she was basically a private investigator, wanting to know trends, wanting to know habits. She knew pretty much, like on Friday nights, one would go here, one would go there. Saturday afternoon, one would go. I
don't get it.
Whew.
Just if that's what's going on, then just say, hey, this is not acceptable, and moving forward. If they're living at home and you're under your roof and under your control, then let's just make a move. Let's put them in an environment where that, monitoring them and thinking that you're going to jump in the Batmobile and go fetch them, is crazy. That's just nuts. And I'm not saying you should let your kids go shoot drugs and die. That's generally the response. What you're saying is, I'm like, no, I never said that. I'm saying let's get proactive. You're reactive. Let's do something up front and make it clear. These are the rules and this is how it's going to go. You're following them around with a stick and whacking them every time they go out of line. And you think that that's an approach of how to help them. That's nuts, Anyway, sorry, I get a little emotional.
I like it. All right. This question, first sentence is, I don't know if this is appropriate for Kevin or not, or even then it says in parentheses or you, Jay. So thanks for throwing me in there. I'm just an afterthought. Well, it goes on. So paraphrasing. So I love this because one of the things I love to live by is the 4 Agreements. If you never read the 4 Agreements book, I highly suggest it. And so this goes to the heart of the 4 Agreements, so it's probably near and dear to my heart. So here's a story of a family that's been ripped apart by obvious addiction. And so this is I think it's a sister. Well, anyway, it's a sister, aunt, whatever it is. So this is a large family where there's addiction that's all throughout the family. And she's writing to say, is there ultimately, she wants to know, the family has been divided through things that have been said while drunk or high, and the addiction, and there's abuse, and she's not really looking for advice about, she would love if people within her family would get help. She said that would be the ultimate solution, but she's just trying to bring the family together. Everyone, there's kids that are suffering because they don't get to see certain parts of their family. There's several parts of families that do not talk to each other, all because of things that have been said in the heat of drunk, things.
Yeah.
So she's looking for, is there anything that any advice you can give for words that have been said through addiction or just bringing a family together? And with the name of the show, it Family Matters. So maybe have I explained it good enough?
Well, I'm a little, I get what happened, that there were some things said that, were very hurtful in the heat of battle and drunkenness and addiction. So then I don't understand what the question is, though.
She's wanting, is there a way to bring the family? She would love if the family could come together.
Yes. The answer is yes. And the methodology is, I do this all the time. The methodology is everybody has to be working on their own recovery. I'm not bringing one person into the room to get spanked by 2 or 3 or 4 other people. That's not how this is going to work. We don't do that. That's not good therapy. That's not ethical. It's not good recovery. My favorite book in this environment is a book called, actually it's right here. It's not mine. It's a book called Nonviolent Communication by Marshall Rosenberg, who, by the way, was a FBI negotiator, hostage negotiator. And what he did is he came up with a really cool methodology of how to have really heated conversations where everyone kind of walks in and uses like a script. And it's generally, it takes some time for the family to adjust to the process and learn how to do it, because the funny part is this family is saying awful things have been said and we need to change the way we're doing things. And then I'll say, okay, great. And we all meet and they all just do the same things over and over again. You said this, and you're a dick, and this is all I'm like, okay, so that didn't work. Let's try a different way. And the different way is everyone's going to get a chance to speak in an uninterrupted fashion. However, they are not allowed to attack anyone in their conversation. They can only talk about themselves. And then generally the other person's like, well, when do I get to tell them they're wrong? So no. But listening doesn't mean you agree. This is the change of the perspective that I try to get across to families is I want you to learn how to listen and then acknowledge what they said by repeating what they said. There's a lot of ways, that's a lot of format concepts there of how that's called, speaker, listener. I mean, everybody has a different name for it. But I want you to understand that doesn't mean you agree. It just means you're willing to listen and give them the respect that you want. And then it'll be your turn to listen, to have them listen, repeat what you said, and acknowledge what you said. But again, the most important thing about this whole process is you're not agreeing with them. You're just being respectful enough to hear them and be like, okay, I hear what you're saying. I don't agree with you, but this is your time, so we're not going to say that. And the funny part is when everybody has a chance to put their cards on the table and not have somebody immediately trump card them or Uno reverse card them, that's how the family heals. And because they're learning how to communicate differently. But that's like the hardest thing for families to do, because inevitably someone in the family is like, well, but they're wrong and I need to tell them that. I'm like, no, you don't. And no, they're not. They're telling you their experience. Nobody's wrong in their experience. And it's about us acknowledging their emotions and their feelings. See, look at that. You're getting a free therapy session out of me.
Wow.
I'll send you the bill.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, but that's the key piece to the whole thing, is learning a new way of doing business as a family and engaging in that new way of doing business as a family, and everybody getting a turn, And a lot of times too, when somebody's talking, I have to put a timer on them. I'm like,
I believe that.
Yeah, like you get 5 minutes. At the end of 5, you're done. because somebody else has got to get a turn.
Yeah. I would steal the show. I would steal your 50 minutes. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, as long as you're paying. I don't care.
Yeah. Mom and Dad would pay, of course, but.
Well, and we would talk about that.
Well, maybe next time, Kevin. Sorry, we ran out of time. I know when we run out of time. I'm a professional at therapy. I know exactly. Well, you did good. That's all we got. And,
all right.
And I think we've covered everything. So, time to clock out, and you can probably catch up on your nap times.
Oh no, I gotta. You come back from vacation in this game. I got a full slate today and tomorrow, and I'm just like, go till you drop, and then I'm like, now it's time to do laundry.
All right. Well, I'll see you next week.
All right, brother. Take